Welcome to HardScript.
Help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. It started with a headache. That's what she said the first time. Rough day? Headache. No intimacy tonight. Okay, fair. I rubbed her back, got her some tea, told her to rest. Then she said it again the next night. And the night after that. By the third week, it became routine, just like brushing teeth or locking the door before bed. Headache. No intimacy. Same tone. Same phrasing. No eye contact. No explanation. I asked if she was okay. She said it was probably stress. Hormones. Not to take it personally. So I didn't. At first. Instead, I did more. I started handling dinner every night. Took the kids to school. Did her half of the chores so she could rest. Bought her supplements. Researched triggers. Scheduled her a massage. She thanked me. Smiled even. But the headaches didn't go away. They just became the reason for everything. No conversations. No connection. No warmth. Just silence wrapped in an excuse. I tried to be patient, supportive, present, until I realized something. The headaches only showed up when she had to give something. Never when she needed anything. She could scroll TikTok for 2 hours. No headache. Go out for wine with her coworkers? Headache didn't stop her then. Laughing in the kitchen with her sister? Fine. The only time the headache hit was when I reached for her. When I wanted to talk. To touch. To be a husband. And once I noticed that pattern, I stopped asking. Stopped trying to fix it. Stopped showing up for someone who clearly clocked out long before I did. That's when the shift happened. Not in her, in me. I didn't slam doors. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't sleep on the couch or flirt with anyone else or go passive-aggressive. I just pulled back. No announcements. No arguments. I still made coffee. Still drove the kids to school. Still checked the mail and paid the bills. But I stopped offering extra. I stopped folding her laundry. Stopped picking up her prescriptions. Stopped buying her favorite snacks. Stopped being the emotional cushion she leaned on after giving me nothing in return. And then the headaches went away. Just like that. 3 days after I stopped helping, no mention of a headache. She sat closer on the couch. Touched my arm when she asked about dinner. The next night, she brought me a glass of wine and said she missed this. I didn't say anything. I just watched her. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't reacting, I was observing. And what I saw wasn't a woman in pain. It was a woman in control. Only now, she was losing it. She made pancakes the next morning. Not the frozen kind the kids heat up. Real ones. From scratch. Blueberries, syrup on the side, plates already set. She even played soft music through the kitchen speaker like it was some casual Saturday brunch. It was a Tuesday. The kids were surprised. So was I? She stood at the stove like this was normal, like nothing strange had happened the past 3 months. No headaches. No distance. No nights where she rolled to the far side of the bed before I even turned the light off. She said, "You've been quiet lately." I said, "Just tired." That was the truth. Not exhausted, just done. Tired of carrying something she'd already put down. She laughed more that week. Wore jeans around the house instead of sweatpants. Told me about a podcast she liked. Showed me a meme on her phone and tapped my arm while laughing like we were still a team. It was all soft, polite effort. But it didn't land. Because when someone pulls the plug on a connection for too long, it doesn't come back when they flip the switch. Not right away. Maybe not ever. She touched my shoulder when she passed. Asked if I needed anything from the store. Said she might cook dinner that night. I said, "That's fine." The kids noticed too. They asked if Mom was in a better mood now. Said she seemed nicer again. I told them moods change, but love shouldn't. Then I changed the subject. That night, she lit a candle at the dinner table. One we hadn't touched since our last anniversary. She asked about my work, nodded when I answered, held eye contact like she actually wanted to hear what I was saying. But I wasn't reaching anymore. I didn't open up. I didn't joke to make her laugh. I didn't lean into the moment she tried to create. Because I remembered every night she said, "Headache. No intimacy," without looking at me. Without thinking twice. I remembered how invisible I'd felt. Until I became unavailable. This wasn't reconnection. It was correction. She felt me slipping, and now she wanted to rewind. But you can't rewind what you neglected on repeat. So I matched her tone. Not cold, just neutral. Safe. Respectful. She offered warmth. I offered space. She told me she missed how close we used to be. I told her, yeah, it used to be nice. And that was all I gave her. Because I wasn't trying to punish her. I was just done performing. Now it was her turn to feel the silence. It happened on a Sunday night. Kids were already asleep. Dishes done. TV humming low in the background with something neither of us was really watching. She sat next to me on the couch, closer than she had in months. I could feel the weight of it immediately. The way her leg touched mine. The way her shoulder tilted just enough in my direction. She asked if I wanted anything. Tea, maybe. I said no. She stayed quiet for a minute, then laid her head lightly against my arm. It wasn't a casual lean. It was deliberate, calculated, like someone testing water with their foot before stepping in. A few minutes passed. She shifted again, slower this time. Her hand grazed mine, then settled, fingers barely touching. I didn't move. Not toward her. Not away. Just still. Then she said it. Soft. Measured. I miss us. I looked straight ahead. Not angry. Not cold. Just empty. Because here's the thing. I had waited for that moment. For weeks. For months. Through countless nights of rejection, silence, excuses, and avoidance. But when it finally came, I didn't feel anything. Not relief. Not desire. Not even resentment. Just a calm understanding that I had nothing left to give her. She tried again. A gentle kiss on the side of my neck. Something that used to work without fail. Her hand slid over my chest. That used to be all I needed. Now, I didn't flinch. Didn't pull her closer. Didn't kiss her back. Because what I felt in that moment wasn't intimacy. It was obligation. Not from her, from me. Like I was supposed to respond just because she finally decided the door should be open again. But I couldn't walk through a door she'd welded shut for 3 straight months. So I didn't. I got up slowly, told her I was tired, and headed upstairs to sleep in the guest room. She didn't follow. The next morning, the tone shifted again. She was short, cold, chopping fruit with too much force, slamming cabinets louder than usual. Said she had a headache when I asked if she wanted coffee. Right back to where we started. But this time, I didn't feel that sting. The one I used to feel every time she used pain as a wall. Now I saw it for what it was, not pain. Power. And now that it didn't work, she didn't know what to do with me. Because I wasn't the man waiting at the door anymore. I was already gone. Quietly. Fully. And once you stop craving someone's affection, their approval means nothing. I started imagining life without her. Not in the heat of an argument. Not as a fantasy. Just realistically. The way some people imagine changing jobs or moving to another city. Quiet. Practical. Not desperate. Just possible. It crept in slowly. A few minutes here and there. Folding laundry. Driving in silence. Picking up groceries. I'd wonder what it would be like if I just stopped coming home to this version of her. The version that only reached out when she needed something. The version that used headaches to create distance and guilt to pull me back. The version that turned intimacy into a light switch, flipped off until I stopped helping, then suddenly flipped on again. And the more I thought about it, the calmer I felt. There was no anger anymore. No fire in my chest. Just a quiet understanding that the weight I carried wasn't love, it was duty. And the moment I stopped performing, the connection vanished. She didn't miss me. She missed what I did for her. That was the difference. And when you stop feeling chosen, you stop feeling safe. I noticed it in small things. How I didn't wait for her texts anymore. How I didn't look forward to weekends. How I started filling my time with anything that didn't involve being near her. Work, podcasts, long drives with no destination. And the silence that used to bother me, now I welcomed it. Because silence with her had become exhausting. Every room filled with unsaid things. Every conversation tiptoeing around the truth. But silence alone? That was honest. One night, I made dinner and didn't call her to the table. Just fed the kids, cleaned up, and went upstairs. She came down late, saw the empty plates, and didn't say a word. She knew. She felt it, too, the quiet slipping. But she didn't ask me to stay. She didn't say, let's talk. She didn't try to reach across the couch again. No more pancakes. No soft smiles. No attempts at repair. She just let the drift happen. And I let her. Because for the first time, the idea of leaving didn't feel like failure. It felt like finally choosing myself. Not as punishment. Not out of spite. But because staying in a place where you're no longer seen, that's its own kind of leaving. A slow disappearance. And I was tired of disappearing quietly. So I started planning. Not to run, but to rebuild. The law office was on the second floor of a quiet building, tucked between a dental clinic and a tax prep place. I sat in the waiting room for 7 minutes before someone called my name. No one looked twice at me. No questions. No judgment. Just a clipboard and a calm voice. Fill this out when you're ready. It felt like checking in for an oil change. Routine. Dry. Expected. And somehow, that was a relief. Because by then, I didn't need drama. I didn't want a scene. I didn't even want sympathy. I wanted clarity. The lawyer was younger than I expected. Sharp. Direct. Asked the right questions. Didn't waste time. She said, "What outcome are you hoping for?" I didn't pause. "Peace," I said. "Not revenge. Not a win. Just peace." She nodded, like she'd heard that 100 times before. We talked about assets, joint accounts, custody options, what separation would look like, what a clean break really meant, legally, financially, logistically. I didn't flinch, because this wasn't a fantasy anymore. This was the first adult decision I'd made for myself in years. I wasn't angry when I walked out of that office. I wasn't heartbroken. I was still, clear. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't just reacting to her. I was choosing something for me. I didn't tell her that night. We sat at the same table we always did, ate takeout while the kids argued over screen time, and acted like nothing was shifting. But it was. She didn't notice at first. She thought the calm meant maybe I was finally letting go of the tension. That maybe we could go back to the version of us where I gave and she withdrew, and I'd accept that as normal. But it wasn't calm for her. It was distance, and it scared her. She started asking more questions. Wanted to know where I was going, who I was texting, what I was thinking. I kept my answers short, kind, polite. She asked if I wanted to take a weekend trip soon. Just us. Said we needed time away from the noise. But I'd already had enough silence to know what I needed. And it wasn't a vacation with someone who'd made my presence feel like pressure. It was a life where I didn't have to fight for basic connection. She noticed the shift. But what she didn't understand was this. I wasn't walking toward someone else. I was walking back to myself. And once that walk begins, there's no round trip. I told her on a Thursday. No big lead-in. No dramatic setup. Just us in the kitchen, after dinner. Plates still on the table. The kids upstairs, loud enough to keep the silence from swallowing us whole. She asked what I had planned for the weekend. Just casual conversation. And I said, I met with a lawyer. She blinked, tilted her head like she misheard me. I repeated it. Her hands froze above the sink. Then, slowly, she turned around. What for? The tone had changed. No more softness. No more casual. Direct. Sharp. For separation, I said. I'm filing. She laughed. Not real laughter. Just that forced kind people do when they think they're being tested. She said, You're not serious. I didn't answer right away. Just met her eyes. Steady. Honest. I'm serious. The silence that followed was different than any silence we'd had before. It wasn't cold. It wasn't angry. It was hollow. She put the dish towel down. You're overreacting. We've had rough patches before. This isn't a patch, I said. This is a pattern. She crossed her arms. Defensive now. So that's it. You're just done? I nodded. She stared at me like she was trying to find the version of me that used to apologize first. The version that bent, flexed, gave in. But he wasn't standing there anymore. She started pacing, listing reasons. Kids, mortgage, family, holidays coming up. Said we should slow down. Think it through. Maybe therapy. I let her speak. Every word was about the logistics of leaving, not the cost of what she'd already taken by staying absent. She still didn't get it. So I said one thing. I stopped being your husband a long time ago. You just didn't notice. That landed. Her whole posture changed. She sat down at the table, suddenly small, staring at the floor like she couldn't quite believe the control had shifted. Because it always came back to control. Not love. Not us. Control. She didn't cry. Not yet. She just sat there, letting the reality settle in. And I stood there, letting her feel it. Because I wasn't there to comfort her this time. I wasn't there to explain or soothe or soften the blow. I was just done. Not in rage. Not in spite. But in quiet, final clarity. And when you finally say it out loud, that you're leaving, it's not the words that shake them. It's the calm behind them. That's what scared her most. The next morning, the smell of bacon woke me up. She hadn't cooked breakfast in months. Not like that. Not full spread. Bacon, scrambled eggs, toast, fresh orange juice. Music low in the background. Her hair tied up the way I used to like. It wasn't a gesture. It was a strategy. I sat at the table while she moved around the kitchen, humming like it was just another Saturday morning. She smiled too wide, poured me coffee without asking how I take it, even though she knew. Sat across from me like we were starting fresh, like nothing happened the night before. She asked about my plans for the day, told me she thought we could go for a walk with the kids. Maybe watch a movie tonight, just us. I nodded, said, "We'll see." She paused at that, long enough to feel it. The cold edge in a phrase I used to say with warmth. Later that afternoon, she started texting me from the next room. Memes, videos, little things we used to laugh at. I glanced at them, didn't reply. That evening, she wore perfume, set the table with candles again, cooked something elaborate, and asked if I remembered the trip we had the first time she made it. I said, "Yeah, I remember." And nothing else. Because I wasn't going to reward her for remembering how to try once she realized she might lose me. The effort now felt rehearsed, mechanical, like someone reading lines in a play they hadn't bothered to rehearse until opening night. Everything she did was too on the nose, too curated, like a highlight reel for an audience that no longer watched. She touched my hand when I passed by. I didn't pull away, but I didn't pause either. She lingered in the hallway that night, asked if I was coming to bed. I told her I had emails to finish. She waited, then nodded and went upstairs alone. And it hit me, not as pain, but as confirmation. She never understood what intimacy really was. It wasn't the food, the perfume, the smiles. It was presence, attention when there was no crisis, affection when there was nothing to gain. And now that she was performing what I used to beg for, I didn't feel flattered. I felt sad, because the gestures were empty without the heart behind them. And I knew. The same way you know when a song is off-key, even if you can't play an instrument, that what she was offering now wasn't love. It was panic dressed as nostalgia. And I wasn't playing along. Not anymore. I started packing on a Thursday. No bag slammed shut. No yelling. No dramatic music playing in the background. Just the quiet sound of zippers, hangers, drawer slides. She was in the next room. She heard it. Didn't ask what I was doing. Not at first. I packed only what was mine, nothing more. A few shirts, jeans, my shaving kit, the watch my dad left me. I didn't touch anything she gave me over the years. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. There's something final about packing your life into a bag and realizing how little of it feels like home. She walked into the bedroom halfway through. Stood in the doorway, barefoot, arms crossed. She didn't say, "Please stop." She didn't say, "Let's talk." She just asked, "You're really leaving?" I didn't stop folding. Didn't turn around. Just said, "Yeah." She didn't cry, but her voice cracked when she asked, "When?" "Tomorrow morning." She nodded. Said, "Okay." Then she left the room. That was the whole exchange. That was the end. I finished packing in under an hour. Sat on the edge of the bed for a while, looking at nothing. Not thinking about her. Not about the memories. Just letting the stillness confirm that I wasn't rushing this. I'd already left months ago. This was just the logistics catching up. She made dinner that night. Didn't eat. The kids were quieter than usual. I didn't explain anything to them. Not yet. That would come with time, with calm, with structure. They didn't need the weight of grown-up decisions dropped into their laps. I watched her move around the house like it was still hers. It would be. I didn't want it. Not the kitchen we never laughed in. Not the bedroom that turned into a waiting room. Not the hallway where I learned how to make myself smaller. She knocked on my door later that night. I let her in. She didn't say much. Just stood there, looking at the suitcase on the floor. Then she said the only thing that actually felt real. "I didn't think you'd ever go through with it." I said, "I know." And that was the truth. She counted on my patience like it was permanent. But even patience expires when it's never fed. So I didn't need to raise my voice. Didn't need to list all the reasons. She already knew them. She just never thought they'd cost her anything. But now they had. And this time, the silence was mine. I moved out on a Friday. No one helped me carry bags. No one stood in the driveway watching the car pull away. It was early. The sky was still gray. I loaded my things quietly and closed the door without looking back. She stayed upstairs. Not asleep. Just not willing to watch me leave. The new place was small. A one-bedroom rental with beige walls, scuffed floors, and a view of a parking lot. No furniture yet. Just a mattress on the floor and a folding chair I brought from the garage. But when I stepped inside, it didn't feel like loss. It felt like permission. The first night, I sat on that chair, ate a sandwich off a paper plate, and listened to the silence. It wasn't heavy. It didn't press on me. It gave me space. Space to think. Space to breathe. Space to finally hear myself again. I went to bed early. No scrolling. No waiting for the sound of keys in the door. No wondering if I'd said something wrong that day. No laying awake rehearsing conversations that would never happen. Just rest. And for the first time in years, I actually slept. The next morning, I woke up before the sun, made coffee on the little stovetop, sat by the window and watched nothing happen. No plans. No tension. No noise. The absence of chaos didn't feel empty. It felt earned. I unpacked slowly over the weekend. Bought a secondhand couch. Found a quiet diner a few blocks away where nobody asked questions. Set up a bookshelf. Cooked for myself. Everything was mine. Not in a prideful way. In a peaceful way. No one criticized how I did things. No one turned warmth on and off like a faucet. And the strange part? I didn't miss her. Not her voice. Not her scent. Not even the idea of her. What I missed, and was now rediscovering, was me. The version of me that wasn't constantly editing himself to be tolerated. The version that didn't measure love by how little rejection he could survive. She texted me 2 days later. Just one line. "How's the new place?" I read it. Didn't answer. Not because I was angry, but because there was nothing left to explain. This wasn't about proving a point. This was about choosing peace over performance. And now that I had it, I wasn't giving it back. Not even for the version of her I used to hope would come home. Because she already did. And when she did, she brought nothing with her. Now I had everything I needed. And it finally felt like enough. I went back one last time. There was one box left in the garage. Tools, chargers, a few old notebooks I hadn't touched in years. Nothing personal. Nothing sentimental. Just mine. I let her know I was coming by. Said I'd be in and out in 15 minutes. She answered, "Okay." When I pulled up, the house looked the same. Same blinds. Same porch light. Same car in the driveway. But it didn't feel like mine anymore. That was the difference. I knocked once, even though I still had a key in my pocket. She opened the door fast, like she'd been waiting. Hair pulled back. No makeup. Hoodie. Bare feet on the hardwood. She didn't smile. Just stepped aside and said, "It's in the garage." I nodded. No small talk. No fake warmth. She followed me out, like maybe she thought this was her last shot to say something that would make me stop. Or turn around. Or hesitate. But I didn't. I lifted the box, checked the corners, made sure it was everything. She stood there watching. Then she said it. "Are you really not coming back?" I didn't answer right away. Just looked at her. Not like a stranger. Not like an enemy. Just like someone I used to know. Someone I cared about once. Someone who let go of me long before I ever let go of her. And now, she wanted to speak, to reach, to rewrite. But there was nothing left to rewrite. Because when someone withdraws piece by piece, day by day, excuse by excuse, the goodbye doesn't happen in one moment. It happens slowly, quietly, until it's done. And it was done. I said, "Take care of yourself." That's all. She opened her mouth, closed it, stepped back, and I walked past her without touching anything else. No final hug. No keep in touch. No glance over my shoulder. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove. Not angry. Not bitter. Just finished. There was no cinematic ending. No closure conversation. No dramatic realization in the rain. Just a man who finally stopped trying to earn love from someone who used his kindness like currency. And a woman who didn't notice the damage until the quiet stayed too long. That was the last time I saw her. Not because I hated her, but because I finally loved myself more than her version of me. And once you make peace with that, there's nothing left to say. Not even goodbye. Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories.